What's up, everyone? We're going to be going through the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now, I did want to show you the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, and as you guys see, we actually got 20 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. So we are on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 20 picks right like me, win more bets, and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be a link down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $750 just yesterday. Another member who won $250 for the 7th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. Also want to give a quick shout out to Keon Pierre, who said, okay, so I said, let me just try you out. I thought I was going to get mad and cancel because it's my first time, but man, I was ready to cuss you out, but I freaking won, my guy. I got one more left and I know I won. I appreciate you a lot. I'm glad I paid. So shouts out to him, a newest member of the group. So it's great to hear he won. So congratulations to him. And also shout out to Ramir Guerra, who said, I love yapping, gives all the good info. So shouts out to him as well. But if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below and like this video, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. All right, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is Brandin Podziemski, and this one is for 15.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now we look at Brandin Podziemski, we've actually seen him go on the under in 1 out of the last 5 games. Now they do face off against none other than actually, a great Portland Trailblazers team. Now I do say great lightly, but when it comes to Brandin Podziemski, we've seen that on April 4th, they faced off against the LA Lakers. They did have 28 points there. April 5th, faced off against Denver and had 26 points in that matchup. Houston, 19 points on April 7th. Then April 9th, faced off against Phoenix, where had 22 points. And then April 10th, San Antonio Spurs had 7 points in that matchup. So Brandin Podziemski had been playing great. Yes, that is the case. However, we do like the under for this situation here. Now, apologies, guys, for the glitches. I don't know why it keeps glitching out, but it keeps, switching this. But I will just keep coming back to it. But when it comes to Brandin Podziemski and the Warriors, they face off against Portland, like we mentioned. Now, looking at Portland Trailblazers, we do see Portland do rank when it actually comes to the Western Conference. They rank 12th with a record of 35-45. So when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers, they have pretty much, solidified that they aren't going to or will be able to make the playoffs. They are pretty much out. There is no way of coming back for them. And that's why, when it comes to Portland, they don't really need to tank as well. Their spot at the 12th spot has already kind of been solidified. So you don't really see anything very much changing from there. But when it comes to the Portland Trailblazers, they also face off against Warriors. And looking at Warriors on the other side of things, Warriors currently ranked 6th in the Western Conference with a record of 47-33. So they have done a fantastic job, but on top of that, they are also still fighting for a spot in the playoffs. Now, if you don't remember, I have mentioned this in a couple of my other videos, but Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves all are ranking very close. Most of them are only 1 to 2 wins away from each other, and we definitely see that affecting it very much here because this is a make or break game for this Warriors team. So we are still expecting them to play very hard. However, coming into this game, looking at the matchup, we do see that Brandin Podziemski does actually rank, pretty well. But when we look at, Brandin Podziemski and the Warriors, but looking at actually Podziemski, they face off against Portland, and Portland Trailblazers do rank 21st in points allowed. However, the reason why we still do like the under for this situation here is that we are expecting other players in the Golden State Warriors to have a lot more usage rate in the points department. Now, Brandin Podziemski has had a great run. Do not get me wrong. He's been able to score very well. But with a lot of the players returning from injury to finish off and finalize this season, we are expecting some of the other star players in this matchup and in this team to take more of that usage rate away from Brandin Podziemski. So we definitely see that changing there. Now, looking at someone like Podziemski, we also do see that in the matchup that they have played against Portland, he actually had 0 points in that matchup. So he had 0 points in that matchup. We definitely see that affecting it coming into this next matchup, no doubt about it. But on top of that, we also do see that in that game, he also had a good amount of minutes. He had 25 minutes, which is roughly where he's at minutes-wise. So, it wasn't like he got injured or anything like that. He does struggle against teams like Portland, and Portland also do a fantastic job, especially against Brandin Podziemski's position. So we definitely see that affecting it pretty greatly here. Now, when we also look further, we also do see that, Podziemski, when we look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. So that works out in our favor there. So for that reason, Brandin Podziemski, 15.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next pick, we're going to be talking about another great player, and that is none other than Kawhi Leonard. So, as you all know, Kawhi Leonard, great player. Now, this one is actually a fantastic one because this is actually for points. Let me just find it. Yeah, points right here, guys. 25.5 points, and this one actually is for less. So, again, guys, apologies for the glitching of the actual prize picks. It's not really up to me. Prize picks just keeps glitching. They keep adding, removing picks and all that. So it does glitch out a little bit, but sorry about that. But this one is a great one. Kawhi Leonard for the under for actually 25.5. Now, he has gone on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. April 1st, faced off against Orlando, where he had 21 points there. And April 3rd, faced off against the Pelicans, where he had 28 points. And then April 5th, faced off against Dallas, had 20 points there. And 29 points against Dallas on April 6th. And April 10th, faced off against Houston, where he had 22 points in that matchup. So he has done a fantastic job in that matchup, in those matchups, but he has gone on the under, in all 3 of those 5 games. And his average over the last 5 is also 24. So, significantly below this line. Now, when we look at someone like Kawhi Leonard, the LA Clippers do face off against the Sacramento Kings. Now, it is going to be an interesting matchup, but looking at the Sacramento Kings, the Kings have already solidified their spot in the 9th place spot in the Western Conference. So they are going to be coming into these play-in series pretty much. They aren't able to make it to the 8th or 7th spot. They are too far away, but they could still potentially drop down to the 10th. But either way, they are still in the play-ins. And, whether you're 10th or 9th, it doesn't really matter that much. They have already secured that spot. Now, looking at the Clippers on the other side, they are in a little bit of a different story. Like we said with the Warriors pick as well, we do see Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, Grizzlies, and Timberwolves are all fighting for a playoff spot and trying to avoid the play-ins. As of right now, of making this before the game happened, Clippers do rank 5th, but all it takes is one loss and a couple of these other teams to win, and we could actually see Clippers end up in a play-in situation. So that's why this game is very, very crucial for this LA Clippers team, and is a big reason why we do think, when it comes to Clippers, they are going to bring out everything to the table coming into this game. Now, looking at the matchup, Sacramento Kings, we do see that the Sacramento Kings do rank 14th in points allowed. So this is a very, very good matchup because, the Kings do a pretty decent job at restricting points. But on top of that, the Kings actually do a fantastic job at restricting points to the forward position. That's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under due to that situation since, LA Clippers and Kawhi, they do run him at that forward position, and we should see Sacramento Kings take advantage of that. Now, looking at, Kawhi against Sacramento, now obviously he has rested some games, but he still has faced off against them before. And this is actually recent, so they actually did play on the 9th of March, and we actually did see in that matchup with Kawhi playing 40 minutes, he only had 17 points in that matchup, so very, very low. So for that reason, we do very much like, the under for this situation here. We saw in that game he went on the under, and we should see it happen once again coming into this next game, no doubt about it. So definitely keep an eye out for the under for this situation for someone like Kawhi Leonard. We should see him go on the under. All signs really do point towards the under for this one, and that's why we are kind of pretty much sticking to it. Now, on top of that, like I mentioned, bookies, when you look at what they said, the bookies also have him favored for the under as well, so that works out in our favor there. So Kawhi Leonard, 25.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about Keon Ellis. So Keon Ellis, you may have heard of him, you may have not, but he is a fantastic player from the Kings. So this is from the other side of that matchup. And this one is for points, actually, for 10.5 points, that is. And let me just find it real quick. And yep, and this one actually is for less. So like I mentioned, 10.5 points. We actually have seen Keon Ellis go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now, if you look at it, April 3rd, faced off against Washington, only had 2 points there. Then April 5th, faced off against Charlotte, where he had 3 points. Then April 7th, faced off against Cleveland, had 11 points. April 8th, Detroit Pistons, 2 points. And then also April 10th, Denver Nuggets had 20 points there. So he has mainly gone on the under in this situation. And also when he has gone on the under, he's significantly gone on the under as well. 2 to 3 points there. Now, Keon Ellis, like I mentioned, his line is at 10.5, but his average over the last 5 is only 7.6. So significantly below this line. Now, they do face off against the LA Clippers, and I don't really want to mention, too much again, but we have already talked about the standings. I don't want to explain that, to you again. I don't want to yap too much in this video, but, just to give you a quick refresher, Kings do rank 9th, 39-41 record. Clippers are also in a situation where they need to win, and they rank 5th on a 48-32 record. So, it is going to be an exciting game there. Now, looking at the LA Clippers points-wise, LA Clippers, when it comes to points allowed, they do rank 3rd. So they rank very, very high. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see him going on the under due to the fact that when you look at Keon Ellis, he also doesn't have that high of a usage rate as well. And because of that, we definitely see that affecting it coming into this game. So for that reason, we do very much like the under. Now, when we look at Keon Ellis against the Clippers so far this season, we have seen them face off against each other actually 3 times. They faced off against each other on the 8th of November. He had 3 points there. Then 22nd of November had 1 point. And then on the 9th of March had 8 points there. So definitely, hasn't really scored that well. And he's going under in all 3 of the games and significantly under at that, and that's a big reason and a telltale sign for us why we do like the under for this one here. So this one's just kind of a no-brainer. Keon Ellis, although he is a great player, doesn't really have the highest usage rate in the scoring department. He does have a couple of games where he's able to score, but against a team like Clippers who do a great job defensively, and also coming into this game, this is a make or break game for the Clippers as well. We are expecting them to restrict Keon Ellis, and we don't see Keon's also usage rate being that high in this game. So for that reason, we are sticking to the under for this one. And when you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies agree with us there. So Keon Ellis, 10.5 points for less. I think it's a fantastic pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Cade Cunningham. So as we all know, Cade Cunningham is a fantastic player from the Detroit Pistons, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season because he's been averaging 25.9 points, 6.1 rebounds, 9.1 assists, while also shooting 46.2% from the field. So he has done a great job there. He does rank 8th in points, 48th in rebounds, 4th in assists, and 70th in field goal percentage. So Cade Cunningham has had himself a very, very good season, especially due to the fact that Detroit Pistons weren't in the same position last season. And now they do face off against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, as you all know, there are probably, only a couple of games left for some of these teams. But when we look at this matchup between the Bucks and Pistons, obviously we are looking at the Eastern Conference. Now, the Bucks are currently ranked 5th with a record of 46-34, while the record of actually Detroit Pistons are 44-36. And they are also just 2 games behind and at 6th place. Now, when it actually comes to Detroit and Bucks, both of these teams, we actually do see that both of them are in a very good position because they have already clinched a playoff spot. So it isn't going to get any worse for them. We won't really see them try that hard because they will still be in the playoffs in the sense that they won't get dropped into the actual play-ins. Now, obviously, Detroit have 2 games left. Bucks do have a score or a record of 46 wins. So there is still a possibility they can still pull this off and maybe get the 5th spot. It really does depend on how Bucks go coming into their last game, since this is the second last one. But either way, when it comes to this, we are still expecting both of these teams to play pretty hard, but both are still safe from the play-ins. They have already solidified a playoff spot. So I think that's great there for both of them. Now, looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, however, we do see that the Bucks, when it comes to points allowed, do rank 13th. Coming into assists allowed, we see that they rank 13th as well. And then rebounds allowed, they also do actually rank. Interestingly enough, they rank a little bit lower as they rank 25th. So they rank a little bit lower. Now, this is also over the last sort of 10 games. And the reason why we like to look at the last 10 games is because, we are near the end of the season. A lot of these teams have definitely switched their strategies up. Some are looking to tank. Some are looking to play very, very hard. Some are even looking to try to get the perfect sort of ranking in their conference in order to set themselves up for a good matchup in the playoffs. So there's a lot of things happening. So that's why I do like to look at the last 10 games, especially coming and near the end. But looking at Milwaukee Bucks, they still do a great job defensively. And that's why we do like the under for this situation here. But we would focus a lot more on points and assists for someone like Cade Cunningham. Now, Bucks are a fantastic team. And they also do a great job defensively. So we definitely see that having a huge effect here. But Bucks also do a fantastic job at restricting points and assists to the point guard position. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. When it comes to Cade Cunningham, yes, he is a great player. But on top of that, he is the main player. And what we have seen time and time again is that Bucks, when it comes to the defensive strategies, they really do like to focus in on stars and restrict them as much as possible. So we definitely see that happening here. Now, looking at also Cade Cunningham over the last 5 games, yes, he has some pretty big games. He is coming off a game against Knicks where he had 36 points, 8 assists, and 2 rebounds. So he did go on the under still on 2 out of those 3 categories. He had 35 points another game, but 5 assists and 3 rebounds. So still went under on the other 2 categories. 25 points again with 4 assists and 9 rebounds. So a similar situation there. So when it comes to, Cade Cunningham, yes, he does have a decent usage rate here and there. He has faced off against easier teams over the last 5, but now with a little bit more of a tougher matchup like Bucks, we should see him go on the under in this one. So for that reason, keep an eye out for his line. Now, I would definitely, like I mentioned, focus a little bit more on points and assists. I'm not saying to rule out rebounds, like pretty much instantly, but I definitely see just a little bit more value in points and assists, especially if the line is too close to his averages. Definitely look to go on the under. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Josh Giddey. So as you all know, Josh Giddey has done a fantastic job for this Chicago Bulls team. And when it comes to the Chicago Bulls, we do see that they have done a decent job so far this season. But Josh Giddey specifically has been averaging 14.6 points, ranking him 69th, 8.1 rebounds, ranking him 23rd, 7.2 assists, 9th, and then 46.5% from the field. And then he was also ranking 65th there. So when it comes to the Bulls, they have done a great job. And they do have themselves an interesting matchup against the Washington Wizards. Now, as you all know, looking at the Washington Wizards, we do see that it is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. Now, looking at the Bulls do actually currently have a record of 37-43. So, very interesting record there. Now, they do currently rank 9th in the Eastern Conference. Now, the reason why this is still an important game to them is because they still could catch up and make it into the 8th spot, as Atlanta Hawks are only 1 game ahead as they have a record of 38-42. So, if Bulls still finish off the season right and Atlanta Hawks don't really have the greatest, finish off to the season, we could actually see Bulls take that 8th spot. Now, the reason why that is so important is that if you do have the 7th and 8th spot, you pretty much have an opportunity to actually go and have a second chance at making the playoffs if you end up losing that first play-in game. So I think that's super important when it comes to a lot of these teams, and especially Bulls specifically, are fighting for that final spot in order to see, or give them a better opportunity to make the playoffs there. So they are definitely pushing for it. Now, on the other side of things, they have already guaranteed themselves a playoff position. So in that sense, even if they do lose, they are still in a great position there. But they do face off against the Washington Wizards. Now, Wizards are in a bit of a different situation. Wizards do rank 15th in the Eastern Conference with a record of 17-63. So very, very poor record. But on top of anything else, what you also do see is that when it comes to the Wizards, not only do they rank, very low, but on top of that, they are pretty much out of the playoffs, definitely. So, the Wizards are definitely going to come into this game. They don't really care too much about it. They are pretty much looking to tank and tank as much as they can in order to set themselves up for the best draft pick possible. So, for that reason, coming into this one, we do very, very much think this is going to be an interesting game as both teams have different motives. Now, looking at the Washington Wizards, however, they do rank 24th in points allowed. Moving on to assists allowed, we see that they rank 21st, and then rebounds allowed, they rank 30th. So this is also looking at the last 10 games, but Wizards still do rank very, very low in all three categories, and that's why we do like the over for this situation here. Josh Giddey is a fantastic player, but on top of that, he does have a very balanced usage rate in all three departments, and that's why we definitely see him taking advantage of this and going on the over in this one. So for that reason, we do very much like, the over for someone like Josh Giddey. There really isn't any to focus on. I think he has a capability to go on the over in really any of the three categories due to the fact that Wizards do rank very, very low in all three as well. Now, looking also further, you also do need to realize that Wizards are a very, very fast-paced team. And what we have seen time and time again is that they do a fantastic job at actually speeding up slower-paced teams. So although Bulls are a little bit slower, we are expecting actually, the Wizards to push the pace quite a lot. And because of that, we are definitely liking the over for someone like Josh Giddey. So we think just off pace alone, we should see him be able to go on the over here, no doubt about it. Now, when we actually look at, his last couple of games, Josh Giddey specifically, we have seen him have a very, very good usage rate. He's coming off a game against Miami where he had actually 28 points, 11 assists, 16 rebounds. So he was able to, beat his record or beat his, lines or averages in that sense in all three categories. So I thought that was great there. When you also look further, another matchup, he had 23 points, 8 assists, and also 10 rebounds. So also went over on that one. So Josh Giddey has just definitely had the hot hand, and obviously the Bulls are trying to push to see if they can get, a better spot in that play-ins. So they definitely have been playing him very, very hard, and also just giving him, when it comes to usage rate, has definitely been very, very high. So we see that translating into this next game, no doubt about it. So keep an eye out for the over for Josh Giddey. I think there's definitely a lot of value there. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Scottie Barnes. So Scottie Barnes, as we all know, fantastic player from the Toronto Raptors, and he's done a fantastic job so far this season because he's been averaging 18.9 points, ranking him 40th, 7.7 rebounds, ranking him 28th, 5.8 assists, ranking him 23rd, and then 44% field goal percentage, ranking him 94th. So he has done a fantastic job for this team. Now, when it comes to actually Scottie Barnes and also the Toronto Raptors, they do have themselves an interesting matchup against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, looking at both of these teams, it is a little bit interesting to see. Now, starting off with Toronto are in a pretty bad position because they currently rank 11th in the Eastern Conference, but they have no hope in actually making the play-in. So they are pretty much out. These games are pretty much consolidating games. They don't really need the win as much, and probably they more are likely trying to lose in order to give themselves a higher draft pick. So coming into this, the Raptors don't really have any motive coming into this game. Now, looking on the other side of the table, you do have the Dallas Mavericks as well. Now, Dallas Mavericks are in somewhat a different situation because the Dallas Mavericks have actually clinched a playoff spot. Now, they currently rank 10th in the actual play-ins, and they are pretty much solidified in that 10th or 9th spot. But it doesn't change too much because both 10th and 9th have the same sort of play-in advantages. They have a one game. If they lose that game, they are out of the play-in tournament. So coming into this one, it is definitely going to be interesting. We should see Scottie Barnes and the Toronto Raptors kind of have the same motive against the Dallas Mavericks in a sense that, win or lose, it doesn't really matter too much. They're both kind of in the same position. Now, looking at Dallas Mavericks, however, over the last, 10 games, looking at where they have been pretty decent. They rank 15th actually in points allowed, and there's also losing players like Luka and others. When we look at assists allowed, they rank 20th, and then rebounds allowed, they also do rank pretty decently as they rank 16th. So nothing really too major, very, very average. But when it comes to someone like Scottie Barnes, we do very much like, the over for this situation here. A big reason being is that when it comes to Scottie Barnes, he is a great player, but he also does have a very good usage rate in all three departments. So for that, we definitely see that having a huge effect there. And is a big reason why we do very much like, the over for this situation here. Now, Scottie Barnes, like I mentioned, has a high usage rate in all three departments, but on top of this, when we also look at the Dallas Mavericks, ever since losing Luka, we've actually seen their pace actually pick up quite a bit. So they've actually had some pretty good, decent pace as of recent. So we are expecting a pretty decently fast-paced sort of game coming into this matchup, which we definitely see it having a big effect there. So we do very much like the pace coming into it. Should be enough volume to see someone like Scottie Barnes go on the over in this one. Now, looking at Scottie Barnes over the last 5 games, he has had a little bit of a roller coaster when it comes to these matchups. We do see, when it comes to his most recent game, he did have 17 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, so he did decently there. He's had a lower usage rate in other games. He's coming off another matchup against Portland where he only had 5 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds. And another one where he had 9 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds. So, he hasn't really been playing too well in certain occasions, but we definitely see that changing coming into this next one. We should definitely see, someone like Scottie Barnes go on the over in this situation here. And especially due to the fact that Dallas have picked up the pace, I definitely see that having a huge effect coming into it. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Domantas Sabonis. So, as you all know, Sabonis, great player from none other than the Sacramento Kings. And he's done a fantastic job all season. But when we look at actually, Domantas Sabonis, we've seen him average 19.1 points, ranking him 38th, which is interesting to see there. We also have 13.9 rebounds from him, ranking him first, and then 6.1 assists, ranking him 18th, and then 58.9% field goal percentage, ranking him 7th. So he has done a fantastic job, so far this season. And when it comes to Sacramento Kings, they are in a pretty decent position as well. But now the Kings do actually face off against none other than the LA Clippers. So it is going to be an exciting game. So when we look at this, we do see that, the LA Clippers are in a similar situation in the Western Conference, because when we look at the LA Clippers, they are currently fighting for a playoff spot still. Now, if you look at the teams pretty much from 4th all the way to 8th, we have Nuggets, Clippers, Warriors, Grizzlies, Timberwolves. All these teams are still fighting for a spot in the playoffs. They are only 1 game away from each other. So that's why it is going to be a very, very important game for a team like the LA Clippers. However, the Kings on the other side are in a little bit of a different story. The Kings have already solidified their spot. They are pretty much in the playoffs, but they are actually in the play-in specifically, and that isn't going to be changing, anytime soon. No matter win or loss, they are in the play-in, so that's definitely not going to change. So it is a little bit different there in a sense that, both of these teams have kind of different motives coming into this game, and we definitely are expecting a little bit of a different result because of it. Now, looking at, Domantas Sabonis' matchup, LA Clippers, we do see LA Clippers still rank very high in points allowed. Even in the last 10 games, they rank 3rd. They also rank 9th in assists allowed and then 2nd in rebounds allowed. So they still rank very, very well in all 3 categories. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see someone like Sabonis struggling, especially against Clippers, to do a fantastic job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the power forward position. So for that reason, we are definitely liking the under for this one, and we should definitely see, the under due to the fact that LA Clippers are also a very slow-paced team. What we have seen time and time again is that Clippers do a fantastic job at slowing down the pace of faster paced teams like the Kings. So for that reason, we are expecting a bit less pace from Sabonis as used to, which should lead to the under on this one. Now, when we look at Sabonis as well, we have seen them come off a game against Denver. We only had 13 points, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. So although those are decent stats, he still did go in the under of his averages. Another matchup where he had 19 points, 10 assists, 15 rebounds. So, he did a little bit better there. And then another matchup where he also had 18 points, 7 assists, 16 rebounds. So, his usage rate has been a little bit up and down, a bit of a roller coaster. But in this matchup, we should see him go on the under.